Well, I'd say welcome back, but I don't think you've been gone that long. It's probably me that's been gone for a while. And meteorologist Brett Adair joins me again now to talk about hurricane season a little bit. We've been actually looking at a storm for quite some time now, Beryl, that has been out there for a while and has run the gamut, Brett, of being a really strong storm, maybe historically one of the strongest this early in the season, to where it is at the moment. How are you, by the way?
I may have lost you for a second there,
Yep.
David. Headed into a storm here. Sorry about that. Yeah, Beryl has been a relentless storm as it has moved across the Caribbean Sea. Now made its way across the Yucatan. Weakened to a tropical storm this afternoon. However, we're expecting re-intensification. It looks like we're going to see a U.S. landfall with this system again. Maybe as at least a minimal hurricane. We're going to have to watch that really close to see if once the center of circulation moves off the Yucatan, if it's still got a pretty well organized low level center, and just how quickly we can see it wrap up once again.
Brad, this was I don't know. We were sort of lulled into a sense of I was anyway. I had gone on vacation and lulled a little bit into thinking it wasn't really hurricane season. I know we already had an A storm, but when this came along, conditions that we were talking about even over the winter. I know you and I were talking about this because a friend of ours actually had mentioned how warm the main development area of the tropics were as far as the water temperature was going, and it was still there in high coming into the first of actually May or so, and then cooled off a little bit. But here's where we are, and you think some of that energy was left around. You think that's why we got such a big storm. By the way, thank everybody for joining us here. I see Jen Strauss is with us in Wisconsin, but originally from South Florida. Someone is wrote some Spanish in there. Brett, I know you speak fluent Spanish. I'm gonna let you go ahead and interpret that from Jay. I see the word tormentus, which does not sound like a good word.
Yeah, David, I think that we've had exceptionally warm Atlantic sea surface temperatures, which are allowing for some of this earlier season development in that main development region. I mean, again, we can talk about just how historic this storm is. It is the first Category 4 plus storm that we've had in the month of June. It beat, back earlier, back in the day, I think 57 was Aubrey that hit Louisiana. It was declassified as a 4 down to a 3. So this was the strongest storm, and it was strongest by a couple of weeks. And then it hit Category 5 intensity, I think, 2 weeks earlier than any storm in the hurricane season has done so before. I think Emily, it broke that record by 14 ish days. So we are in a period of very intense activity, I believe, tropically, and this could be a bad sign for the remainder of the year. Again, we do have some of that Saharan dust over the eastern Atlantic, and after this system progresses and moves inland, we may catch another small break. But we've already had the A storm, we've had Beryl, we also had Chris that formed in the Bay of Campeche and moved into Mexico. Very short lived system, but again, those lows are wrapping up, forming into tropical systems and making landfall. So this will be the third landfall that we've had in this region already this year. So it's going to be a very active season ahead, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Brett, let's talk about this. This is the, as of 18Z, this is some of the guidance, some of the new guidance here that suggests, like you said, maybe a U.S. landfall a little more definite than before from some of the plots that were coming out. And this again, tropicaltidbits.com, by the way, great site there. And pulling this off of there. Brett, how do you feel about this? This is like 72 hours of landfall somewhere between Victoria, it looks like, and just off to the north there.
Yeah, I like that. I actually believe that's kind of been my thought because the storm's been going really on the north side of the cone for most of its life cycle as it entered the Western Caribbean, and it maintained its strength a lot longer than it was supposed to, which usually means you're going to see a more poleward movement to the overall track of the system. Now, we've seen substantial weakening this afternoon as the storm was over portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. So we're going to have to watch and see exactly what implications there are because of that. But, in terms of the track, if it were me, I would be making preparations anywhere from Brownsville all the way up toward Beaumont. The whole Texas coast is not out of the line of fire. And even if the center comes on shore, say at Corpus Christi, going to see impacts on that right side of the system all the way up Galveston, Houston, Corpus Christi, South Padre. That whole area is still going to have implications from this.
Yeah, and again, the GEFS tracks are kind of the same here. A weakened storm considerably, Brad. Although there is the thought that the guidance now says, maybe a hurricane again. Probably not a gigantic hurricane, but nonetheless, that's still possible. The water in the Gulf of Mexico is warm. There's influence out there again with high pressure aloft. Some of the ingredients that you need to see this thing go ahead and do that sort of a thing. If we can, Drew, if you don't mind, if you can pull up the what we got behind me here. Yeah, that's good too. This is the intensity, and as you can see, the trough, the drop off there toward the end of 72, 84 hours. That's when it's on land. But prior to that, there is some indication, Brett, a couple of the models do try to take it up, the ship for one, trying to take it back up to at least a minimal hurricane there.
Well, we've got to watch those conditions as it enters the Gulf. I've seen these systems when they have very warm water to work with, especially if it moves more northerly where it can stay over that water for a longer period of time. We could see more intensification than those models are hinting at. We've even got some ensembles that are hinting at a strong Category 2 to Category 3 type landfall, and I'm not ruling that out yet. Now, again, that's going to be on the upper end most likely. But we've seen time and time again, David, I'll point back to 2017 was a good one. We saw a smaller system come off the Yucatan, and that storm was known as Harvey, and it intensified into a Category 4, nearing Category 5 strength as it made landfall down near Rockport, Texas, and I was there for that. Now, I don't think we're going to see the stalling out of the system where we get just the 40 to 50 inches of rain that the Houston metro area got from that. But again, there's some similarities here in terms of the area it's coming off the Yucatan and the time it may have over water. So we're going to have to watch very, very carefully, at least prepare for what would be a minimal hurricane, and don't possibility of some rapid intensification.
Brett, you were there, and I was on with you, if you remember. Is that not the one where it was one of your first live shots? I think was that the dumpster one, the one where the dumpster went by in the live shot? Do you remember?
It was. It was behind us, and the dumpster went by, and then we also were inside after we lost some of the communication. We actually had our hotel there. The back wall collapsed, and there were several people inside. Josh Morgerman was one. Beryl was there as well. Brandon Clement. Several people were there. So that was a pretty intense moment. And so again, there's some ties to Texas when it comes to these things. But man, this is really early in the season to really kick off the hurricane.
Yeah, it is. Grandma Sheila says storm looks like twin hurricanes. Anybody seen one like this before? Grandma, I suppose we'll talk later. Michael was wild on stream. Yes, it was. Brett and I love to talk about Michael all the time. We actually discuss that sometimes, and I dream about it. The Gulf is so shallow in the Corpus Christi area. Janet Hall said that, it looks like. And Jen Strauss is, again, remnants of hurricane came up to Wisconsin, I think, a few years ago. Yeah, I worked with an anchor one time who swore that a hurricane began in Wisconsin. I don't know if she's still doing the weather or not, Brett. But anyway, that's where we are at the moment. Brett, we're also looking at the radar right now and talking about some storms. I know we had some pretty big storms that were popping up across eastern sections of Tennessee and West Virginia now, some storminess. And there is a severe thunderstorm watch box that's in effect here across western West Virginia with some of the storms coming into Beckley out of the south and west. What about the severe weather season so far? You think we got a little lull here at the moment? I know you're traveling south, which is the first time in a long time.
severe weather season's been absolutely insane. You know, the months of, particularly once we got through into mid-April, and then we shifted into May, tornado season kicked into high gear. We seemingly were out for a good solid 6 weeks, and the states of Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska were just overly ravaged by tornadic activity this year. And it seemed like storm system after storm system. A matter of fact, we lost some equipment on the roof. Some of our internet equipment was hit by hail to the size of softballs, and it busted our satellite dish. So we had to do some repairs on all of that over the last couple of weeks, getting prepared for hurricane season. So luckily, as of late, we're starting to see the tornadoes side of things die down some, which is great. And I think that's going to be the trend, as we just don't have the wind shear ingredient really needed for widespread tornadic activity. However, we are still seeing some of those wind systems, as you mentioned, along the cold frontal pushes moving into West Virginia and into the mid-Atlantic region today.
Yeah, I got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings up there as well, and a few into northern and eastern Michigan here today. Got a severe thunderstorm warning. I think this is actually a special marine warning for a spout, perhaps. It'll be moving offshore. Wind gusts to 40 miles per hour there. That's just north and east of Ausable, and then Alpena, Michigan as well. A couple of storms up there that we were watching too. Coming out of Green Bay, got some wind there as well. But coming down here into the Appalachians, the eastern side of West Virginia, Kingsport down to Johnson City, severe thunderstorm warning coming into Johnson City at the moment from the western side. That's some 60-mile-per-hour winds. Greenhawk and Sullivan, Washington County. You're underneath a severe thunderstorm warning there in both of those areas. Got special watches that are up. Coming into Roswell at the moment here. Special weather statement there from the National Weather Service out of Peachtree City. That's a line that's moving into Milton to Roswell and then on southward and down to the south here into Meridian, 920, 2059 going out of Demopolis. Got a couple of thunderstorms there that we're watching too over to Crystal Springs into Jackson, Mississippi along I-55. And all that is headed southward as well. Now, in general, we've got high pressure that'll be building back into the western Gulf of Mexico here eventually. So that'll be the thing that is upper level. The high pressure will be building again, Brett. And I think that's going to be our exhaust system that we'll be talking about as we move through time. And the reason for the re-intensification, if that is the case that's going on, we do believe it will be, of this whole thing. And pull the satellite up here, Drew, if you can let Brett and I discuss this a little bit, because you can see there's outflow aloft. That's the anticyclone, the high pressure that's blowing off the engine here, Brett.
Yeah, that outflow aloft, as you can see some of those wispy clouds moving off and out and away from the hurricane or the tropical storm at this moment. That has kind of been its protective barrier or layer that has kept it intact over the last couple of days. It was forecast to be more sheared and weaker before it hit the Yucatan, and that outflow channel actually kept things at bay, and it defeated the wind shear somewhat. So we're going to watch that anticyclone potentially expand into the western Gulf, and it'll be really interesting to see how this storm reacts, because as of yesterday, again, it was battling the shear very, very well. And unfortunately for portions of the Texas coast, we're starting to see on some of our modeling a intensification as this system moves toward the coast late Sunday into early Monday morning. So that's something we're going to watch throughout the weekend. And again, I would be making those preparations. Brownsville all the way up the coast, I would start making some of those early hurricane preps right now.
Yeah, and again, a little different look here. This is sort of an infrared image that goes along with the visible image, but showing you the colder cloud tops here. At least the portion of the storm, the CDO, if there still is one, the dense overcast that goes with this, moving offshore here. I'm sure this is a very popular site today, so the server's not exactly giving me the loop that I was wanting there. But once again, with everything coming offshore, the re-intensification should start to take place. And again, some of the modeling that we're looking at, Brett was talking about, the WRF for one, that is showing this thing coming on shore again just to the north of the Texas border. Brett, I was talking earlier, one of my first memories of a chase was back into the 80s, Hurricane Gilbert, which at one point was the lowest central pressure measured out in the tropical Atlantic, and I wanted to be a part of that. Ended up, but John Hope, who used to do the hurricane stuff for the Weather Channel, was a friend, and he told us when I left Chattanooga, Tennessee, we didn't have to go any further to the west than Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and I ended up down where you're going, actually.
Yeah, hurricane forecasting's come a long way too, but in terms of especially intensification forecast, that's where I think we're lacking some. We've still got a lot of science that we've got to learn. And I'll be honest with you, Dave, I'm itching for this system to get off the coast there so we can get another hurricane hunter plane down into it to see just how defined of a low level center we have.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think some of the that's down in there. You get down in the Bay of Campeche, it's a little bit warmer down there. The water's warmer. I think anything, especially with the first system that goes through that area, you always wonder how much available energy is there, and I'm sure there's quite a bit, maybe a lot of things that we don't know about. I always worry about the first one or two that goes through a region like that. Jamie Fields is Jamie. That's my first memory of Brett. Brett Adair. He was watching it live when it happened. We're not going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. 40 years of hurricane tracking has been impressive, Jen. Yes, and it's a whole 2 days before making landfall, says the Whizman. And Bob Pack, is that our Bob Pack?
That is our Bob Pack.
He's a Pizza Hut, so he's learned from you.
He's gotta stay well fed. There's no doubt. We're going into a tropical situation. Bob's got to get the food going before.
Pizza Hut.
I've got a cooler back here. We're going to throw some pizzas, and I think Heath may smoke a brisket as we're on the way down or something. We talked about that earlier. So
yeah, I
gotta stay good and fed.
I got a brisket update. Every time it turns a little bit browner, I got an alert that came across yesterday when the top of his brisket got a little bit browner. I mean, just a little bit of a shade browner. I got an alert. I don't know how I set that alert up to happen, but it did, and so I appreciate that from Brisket Heath.
Brisket Heath.
Yeah. What just happened there? Okay. Yeah, I'm sure this server's getting used a lot, but anyway.
Yeah, it's the servers are getting pinged really hard. Any of the public stuff today, so a lot of the private stuff.
It's because Bob Pack is at Pizza Hut and he just keeps hammering it from Pizza Hut. If he quit, I could get some of this stuff, Bob. Let's see. Brownsville. Yeah, somebody's asking about Brownsville, and I mean, you can't. There's no way in the world you could rule Brownsville out at the moment.
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. Because one of the things is because you don't often go completely against history, and history has been, the forecast has been for a while now that this thing was going to be even south of Brownsville, and so. I'm always a little bit hesitant of bandwagoning when a model changes, and so I'm still holding a little bit of apprehension about saying it's going to be north of Brownsville. Now, if it is north of you, that's a good sign. That means you've got mostly an offshore situation there. The western side, the left side of the storm, is always going to be the easier to get through. It's the right side that's always typically going to be the problem. And the right side, as Brett was talking about a few moments ago as well off camera, was a tornado threat that we should have as we move along, probably as early as late tomorrow night, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you're going to start seeing some choppy Gulf seas coming in as early as tomorrow. Tomorrow, though, is your preparation day, I would say at this point, and then you're really going to be cutting it close as we go into Sunday. By this time tomorrow, we should have a good idea whether or not we're going to see some rapid intensification or if this is going to be one of those slow and steady, things that moves toward the coast, and we just have to deal with, whatever it brings. And it's either a strong storm, minimal hurricane, or potentially something bigger.
Something bigger, yeah. So we've looked at that. Let's just see what so SPC really hasn't mentioned. They're not even including that yet, but there'll be some sort of a risk down here along the Gulf Coast, I'm sure, as we get into tomorrow evening.
Yeah, especially on the right-hand side, there will be associated tornado risks that
Yeah,
will come with this system. So
got Corpus
that'll be
Houston
something
kind
that
of
we're
thing.
watching for. Absolutely. All of those right side loaded systems, they're loaded up with shear on that side. So any of those stales that come off the Gulf and then the ones that go inland, they'll have the chance to produce some water spouts and some tornadoes with the system as well. It all depends if we get, some air wrapping into it too. So, like I said, by this time tomorrow, I think we're going to have a much better idea, not only on track, but if we have the potential to meet the upper end of our intensity threshold that we're thinking right now. But again, minimal hurricane is what I would at least prepare for, with the possibility of something approaching major hurricane status as it reaches the coastline. And keep in mind, the entire state, the coastline of Texas, all the way up to Lake Charles, Louisiana, is now inside the cone of uncertainty. So, now is the time for you to begin those preparations. We don't have watches or warnings out just yet. We may see watches go with the evening advisories this afternoon. I know they normally do that during the evenings. So we'll see. If not this evening, first thing in the morning, I would expect those watches to be going widespread so that we can, get the word out there media wise of the incoming storm.
All right. Let's see. A couple of more things. Grandma mentions Grandma knows Cece, who's on with us there. Kyra lives in Brownsville since '98. Caught the tail end of Dolly there in '08 and took power outages there for a couple of days. Mary R is with us from remember Florida. Went from Cat 1 to Cat 5 in a flash. Terry Rose, thank you for the updates. Stay safe, everybody. Terry is from your Facebook page there, I think. And
Okay, cool.
what's that? There's a Braden Gervais. It says, "Hi guys." Uh, he's from France. Is he French?
Yeah, something like that. I see that.
Braden Gervais. Gervais.
Jarvai.
Gervais. Gervais.
I
Gervais.
think I
Gervais.
think he. I know who that person is. I think, from what I understand, he was kin to Donald Trump. I believe is what I heard.
Oh, he did. Yes, he did. And he got married
Yes,
recently. I saw that too. I saw he
he
just got
did. He
married.
got married and is moving to Illinois, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. All right.
So
So I do know him. He's one of our longtime admirers. And
yes,
Terry and the Whiz Man says, "Ha ha ha ha." Jen's been with us. Jen is very faithful. And Josh Burnham.
Josh Burnham. Yeah, he provides a lot of information to us off camera here, so we get a lot of stuff from him. He's a friend of mine from Ragland, Alabama.
He's from Ragland.
He's from
I
Ragland.
think I know. Whizman is back with us from he says Roll Tide. All right. So actually we don't Mr. Jarvey, we don't care where you're anyway. So no, get rid of that. Let's see. All right, I think we were just planning to do a little quick update here because we just got the new update from the National Hurricane Center that it is no longer a hurricane. It's a tropical storm, 70-mile-per-hour winds now with Beryl. I went through. When was the last Beryl? I was there. I did that.
It's been a while, man. Beryl
Yeah,
is. It's been a while
because I
since we had a.
mispronounced it forever,
Yeah.
and
Um,
they let me know.
Couple of years, but let's
Anything
see.
else? Where do people get your merch? That hat is smoking.
I have not. I honestly don't have this hat available yet, but we got to get this thing up on
Wow.
our store. Go to livestormsmedia.com. We've got some. I believe there's an apparel tab there where you can buy some of that stuff. Dean Barry actually created this old hat here. Looks pretty good.
B.
So,
Dean Perry did.
B. Dean Barry.
That is awesome.
So I
That's
figured I
good.
would wear it down on the getting en route to. Um, while we're down here too, I know you guys are watching on multiple platforms that we have available. I'm going to shoot some short form content, some shorts, some reels, that type of stuff, just to give you guys that are on our pages a firsthand look at things as they happen. We usually are trying to shoot video packages for our channels and for our news media clients. We're going to try something a little different. And as we're doing some of this live stuff, um, that'll be some of the stuff that Dave can pull in, and the producers, Drew, Jarvis, whoever is running the show, can also pull some of those things in if I'm not able to be on with Dave during some of the most active periods. But yeah, it looks like it's a busy weekend. Looks like we go into a busy early next week. And, this is our first one. This is our first big storm here in a minute for the U.S. And I've got a couple things en route. I've got a boat that's actually on the way down here. So
A
we get
what?
coastal surge. Yeah, I got a boat. So I'll be in a boat. I'll have a feed coming out of a boat while I'm inside of the boat. If we have to go and do any coastal stuff, we're already on the road. By the way, we're passing. I don't know if you've got access to the feed, Drew, but we just now crossing over the Tom Bigby River here, entering Sumter County, Alabama, on I-2059. So we're already headed in the general direction of Texas. We've got a cracked windshield, matter of fact, from our tornadic expeditions that we dealt with a couple months ago, and we're getting our windshield changed here in about an hour and a half. And then we're going to continue on towards southwest Louisiana tonight, most likely, and then we'll be in Texas tomorrow. To be determined where.
All right. Your video looks good. Your camera looks good out of your vehicle, so we're going to be. Normally we zoom pretty far out, but we're able to zoom in fairly close to your face at this point. It looks good. Your face looks nice.
We try, Dave. We try sometimes.
Yeah,
So.
it does look good. I don't know why, but when I look at your shot, I just smell brisket. It just reeks of brisket. I don't know if you can smell.
I haven't had any brisket this afternoon, but maybe before the trip's over. We are going to Texas, so we could at least probably order a brisket and throw it in the cooler. So.
Yep. And just got some breaking news. Bob Pack has left Pizza Hut, so we're currently thinking.
Man. So the last Beryl, by the way, was Tropical Storm Beryl in 2012. It looks like. So.
In Louisiana, did it make it to Louisiana?
I can't remember. And then you had Hurricane Beryl, which was what, 04? 88. 88 was Beryl.
Yeah. I just remember taking a lot of heat over it because I had mispronounced it quite a bit. I did that with quite a few of them, actually.
Well, I think we wanted to get this update for you guys out there, and we're probably going to do another one. I would say, later tonight, David? Do something before it's too late.
Yeah.
We will schedule the update well in advance on the pages here. We've got everything ready to rock and roll. So we'll likely have this thing off the coast by that time, maybe 8, 9 o'clock tonight, local time central here. And
yep,
Dave, I'll let you go with it.
Hey, well, you want to see it because Brett's going to be on a boat. On a boat.
I'm on a boat.
All right, good deal. We're gonna wrap it up for now, and we'll come back again. Drew Richards has been helping us as well. You see Drew all the time on the channel with us. Brandon Gervais with us as well. He typically he texted. He didn't really help us at all, but says he might in the future. He might be helping us out. He always does. And so we appreciate this. Is really, we're just getting caught back up on how to do this as a team. I know Brett does a lot of it himself live, and I know a lot of you are his followers. I see from Facebook. So thank you again for chiming in. We'd love to take questions from you, by the way, when we do this. We're going to be doing this a little bit more often, too, as we move along. But for now, we're going to wrap it up. I'm meteorologist David Neal. You're not, and we'll be happy to be with you a little bit later on tonight as we talk more about this whole situation. And we'll be doing so live again. Come up with questions. We'll be glad to answer them.